The 2023 budget, as presented by Mr. President on the 7th of October 2022, before the joint section of the National Assembly, uh, has also come as one of those rituals that governments perform uh, as the year goes out and a new financial year is being expected. Um, like the ritual it is, it has presented before Nigerians a whopping sum of 20.5 trillion naira budget. On the surface of it, Nigerians will shout and say, where are we going to get 20.5 trillion budget? Unfortunately, the size of our economy has more than quadrupled that figure. I mean, in view of the challenges that we face. Uh, Regrettably, however, it is very disturbing to note that of that figure, over 10 trillion is to be spent on, is to be derived from borrowing and sales of government assets, and of course, drawdown on loans that have already been secured for specific projects. Debt servicing is going to take a large chunk of it. Of course, when you add the figure for subsidy payments amounting to over 6 trillion naira, you will discover that there is nothing left of the budget for the Nigerian populace to heave a sigh of relief over. It is quite disturbing. It amplifies a very disturbing fiscal outlook for the country, particularly the with respect to the fact that Nigeria is facing the twin problem of revenue problems and, of course, huge debt overhang on our neck as a nation. Now, our revenue challenges have come to the fore in spite of the passing of the Finance Act of 2020, which was meant to enhance government internal revenue, because our revenue from oil is gradually disappearing with the huge crude oil theft that today we now hear of. It's not as if it's not been there. It speaks to the very fact that our revenue and our finances are getting seriously depleted owing to rising cost of governance and, of course, the need to build requisite infrastructure, which are yet to meet expected international standards. And this is not also being helped by the huge military spending on in tackling insecurity in parts of the country. In the last 10 years, in the last one decade, the amount of money Nigeria has spent on tackling insecurity is mind-boggling. It is part and parcel of the major source of expenditure that is eating deep into Nigeria finances. And of course, I mean, you are not going to be told that corruption in the form of crude oil stealing and misappropriation at every point is also a challenge. And there's a challenge to our fiscal responsibility. It shows a very deep challenge for our fiscal responsibility with over 3.75 to our GDP. So Nigeria faces a huge task. It's time for we need to tighten our belt. Our belt are already being tightened, but I wonder how long we are going to tighten our belt, because as we speak now, small and medium scale businesses are in trouble. Even large scale businesses are finding it difficult to cope. Oil exploration IOC companies are having challenges. So there is no segment of the Nigerian economy today that is smiling at all, because for the citizens, ordinary citizens, their purchasing power have become so reduced. And with the inflation rate of over 20%, over 20.9% right now, then the year 2023 promises to be a very tough one for us. So you now ask, what are we going to do? This is a nation blessed with abundant human and material resources. The challenge we have is that our economic managers and policy implementers of our nation, are less than patriotic in applying the principles that will enable our economy stimulated in such a way that we move gradually away from consumption to production. Because if we do not earn more export revenue, and continue to rely on oil, then we are in trouble. If oil is our only major export as we currently have in terms of main source of revenue for exports, then we are going to be in trouble. Of course, budget is just an estimate. I mean, it is a forecast of what government is expected to spend and what government is expected to earn. The truth is that from experience, while what government is expected to spend may even increase, it is not the same with what government is expected to earn. Because even though the president said in his budget speech, that it is revenue problem that we have, not our access to our ability to be able to borrow more money. But you borrow at whose expense? At whose expense? If we continue to borrow, who is going to pay? So it's a big challenge, it's a big question, because the little margin we have now, why I said it's a challenge to our fiscal responsibility. The little margin we have now is getting over what the Fiscal Responsibility Act requires of 3% debt to GDP. We are now hovering above 3.75 to GDP, slightly above what the Fiscal Responsibility Act requires in terms of capacity and allowable chance for borrowing. So we are in a deep trouble economically, and it is not a question of blaming Mr. A, blaming Mr. B. All those who have the capacity to deliver us from this economic malaise, government must assemble them, must put them together and find solutions to what is currently bedeviling us. We must cut down costs in all ways we can to be able to save the lifewire of our economy. If we don't, 2023 budget present a very gloomy future for our country. And I think that it is the budget that have been most difficult for government to put together. I can assure you that. Because I've gone through the highlights of the budget and the attempt by the Minister of Finance and all those who are concerned to rationalize some of the assumptions underlying the MTEF, for instance, and of course the various statistics, the various sums allocated for each sector. You can tell that it is a budget put together out of very deep and challenging state of assumptions that has come to pay at $70 to a barrel. That is the projection. Assuming oil prices fall below 70 naira next year, what's going to happen?